This is going to be about the possible trailer for the Mandalorian and Grogu film, which will be releasing here next year. It's supposed to come out, I believe it's 2026. Okay, so May 22nd of 2026 is allegedly the release date. The film's set to come out next year, next May, and there's been rumblings and rumors that we're going to get a trailer. We were going to get one today being the 18th, but I guess there's been some sort of, I don't know, people are saying that it's because of the controversy that was going around with ABC yesterday, and I don't know if that's the case. It's kind of a weird thing. I mean, yeah, I can see it. I don't know that would necessarily be enough to delay a trailer, and even then it's only delaying it by a day. You'd think you'd delay it by a week, because I remember the closest thing to a similar analogous thing that I can think of is the Sony the PS5 See the Future or Future of Gaming event or whatever it was called in May. Well, it was going to be in May 2020. Yeah, it was either going to be end of May or like first week of June. And then after the George Floyd stuff, it got pushed back to like second week of June, because I think it ended up being on the 11th. So that's the only thing that's like analogous that I can think of. So that's kind of where we're at right now. As far as the trailer, as far as what we'll see, I don't know. There's been footage that's been shown at the D23 Expo in the last couple years, or at least just this last year, maybe. There's been some footage that's been shown in some places, but nothing, of course, public yet. And we haven't seen anything from this movie at all. We've seen the logo, and that's it. And some bits and pieces of information here so far. Like, we've heard about, well, we've heard descriptions of the different trailers and stuff. I don't really know what the setup of the movie is or what the basic premise is, because it seems to be pretty vague right now. Because there's also been an announcement at some point that they're going to be making something like an adaptation of Heir to the Empire that would take place in the kind of the Mandoverse, you know, that general era, and, you know, kind of essentially be like a big pinnacle crossover event between The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett. So we've got this Heir to the Empire-esque adaptation thing that's a movie that'll be coming out, and that's not what Mandalorian Grogu is. I remember for a while there I was a little bit confused, and I thought maybe that's what The Mandalorian and Grogu was, but it turns out it's not. It's actually just essentially what season 4 of The Mandalorian would have been, but it's been truncated into a movie. Why that decision was made, I'm not sure. Maybe there are reasons that have been stated, but I don't know of them. I don't know of any. I haven't heard of any. So it's kind of hard to say. I guess it does make sense if you want to have, for example, this Heir to the Empire adaptation movie thing, this big thing with Thrawn that kind of really, yeah, I can see it kind of being like Star Wars' mini version of Endgame almost to an extent. Not to the same scale, but sort of a little thing where it's like, hey, they've been building this kind of story arc for a few years now. And you could say, oh, we've been building up to this for 6 years now, or however many years when that movie comes out. And then you can have it be a big culmination and have it be the cinematic event to end the Mandoverse or whatever, to kind of bring a close to this era of Star Cinema and have it be a big deal. So that makes sense if they want to make it more sort of the transition from the Disney Plus TV show, still cinema quality, but, you know, smaller scale stories to an extent. They want to kind of have that transition from that to Endgame, to their Endgame, basically. It's interesting, and it's not, obviously, it's, again, not to the same scale of Endgame, because it's not like the big last thing, you know, the big last hurrah for a lot of these characters. It'll be more of a smaller scale thing that we're seeing. So I can see that, because, you know, you, again, like I said, you want to have that transition from the shows to the movies, and essentially having what would be the 4th season of your Mandalorian show be on the big screen. They have probably a bigger budget, but also they probably don't need to have as huge of a budget, because they can utilize a lot of these technologies like the volume and all of these tactics that they've used to be able to make the Mandalorian and the other Disney Plus shows and everything look as good as they do. And obviously the reality is that they're using that now for everything. Like, Disney is using the volume technology even for feature films that they've released now. And so it really has gotten to that point. Now, unfortunately, we haven't seen, I don't think that we've really seen budgets really go down or kind of level out, unfortunately, because that was one of the things that George Lucas talked about. Is that once, again, I've said this before, but once we crack the code for how to make a TV show look as good as a movie, that means we can make a movie for the budget of a TV show, is essentially what he said. So unfortunately, I think with the VFX work, I think still is causing a lot of inflation of budgets and causing them to still balloon out of control and making it harder and harder for these movies to make their money back. And while you're seeing diminishing returns, mostly on the Marvel side, obviously, because we haven't had a Star Wars movie back in theaters yet, but the Marvel movies that we've seen, it's been a good example because a lot of the VFX in those movies has been very highly criticized. And there's also been the issue of the crunch and the different issues with the VFX, employees being overworked and causing a lot of these issues where, again, they're being run ragged in there essentially, and they're also getting diminishing returns with the quality of effects where they might not look as good or they aren't improving necessarily, right? So it's kind of a weird spot that they're in. I don't know. You would hope that they would be able to figure that out, that they'd be able to eventually crack that code to kind of deflate the budgets of a lot of these movies, because that's a big issue that we've been seeing, is that the budgets keep going up and then it's harder to make the money back. And it's the same thing, we've been seeing with games, and it's not the same issues that are causing it. It's still crunch and it's still these hard deadlines and it's a lot of these different things and over ballooning budgets and diminishing returns and everything like that. So it's similar issues that are going on, but in the film business, they've already standardized this volume technology that is able to deliver cinematic or feature film quality visuals for a television budget. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the budget for Mandalorian and Grogu is lower. I don't know. I might have to check on that and see if there's been anything said about budget, but I feel like usually that it doesn't officially come out until later. So hard to say at this point. We'll see what happens there. I'm curious to see if that will have an effect at all. And we're also seeing, they're shooting this new Starfighter movie with Ryan Gosling. I think that, so far, we've had like 2 set photos. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know. It'd be cool to see what happens there. Again, it seems like it's kind of doing its own separate story, so I'm probably looking forward to that, honestly, more than Mandalorian and Grogu, even though I think Mandalorian and Grogu, and this is kind of the point that I'm getting to, is that I think Mandalorian and Grogu will be really fun, and I think people are underestimating that, because obviously, we've gone on this whole thing about Disney Star Wars and blah blah blah, and everybody has their opinions and everybody hates it, right? But I think that there is something to be said about how a new Star Wars movie being in theaters, whether it's good or not, or whether it's generally well received or not, that still being a fun thing. Look at what we had with the re-releases of Revenge of the Sith and with Phantom Menace over these last couple years. Those have been really big events, even though those movies aren't the most well received, and it was still a fun thing, have Star Wars back in theaters, even if it was just for the re-release, right? And I think it was the same thing. There was a re-release of the entire Skywalker saga. It was like a whole 9-movie marathon that they did, and it was a similar thing. It was super fun, and I imagine that's a big part of something that I've missed about Star Wars, is not having a movie to see in theaters, because I saw Rise of Skywalker in theaters, I think like 7 or 8 times, where I saw it so much, and it was fun, even because there were some times, because I remember I went on the Thursday night, but that was super fun, and then I remember I just, kept going back, even if I was like, most of the times when I went, there wasn't as many people there, it was still super fun. Also, I'll be looking forward to that. I'll be looking forward to seeing The Mandalorian and Grogu in theaters, and I think it'll be a really fun experience, because The Mandalorian 2 has also been, there have been some criticisms of it, which I think a lot of them have been fair, and I share a lot of the criticisms, especially of seasons 2 and 3 of The Mandalorian, but it's a smart move, I guess, is the way I'm looking at it. From a business perspective and from a fan perspective, I think having this be the first comeback for Star Wars in theaters will be a smart move, because it's a character and a era that we're familiar with through the shows, and whether we like them or not, it's still something that we'll be familiar with. And I think it's kind of it's playing it safe, and it's kind of having it be a fun kickoff, back into theaters. So I'll be looking forward to that. It's interesting because it kind of mirrors the similar strategy of when the sequel trilogy and the new spin-offs and everything, the new Star Wars movies were first coming out, to where Force Awakens was this huge crowd-pleasing movie, and it was a lot of fun, and it was something that really got everybody super excited and back into it. And then, you go into the next one that they make, which is the more experimental, the Rogue One, which is the underdog, the more experimental film. We'll be dealing with new characters and a kind of a spin-off and not connected to the general plot. It's interesting that they're following that similar pattern. I'm looking forward to it. Again, I think people are obviously going to find reasons to complain. And I'm not saying that these movies are going to be amazing. I'm not saying that Mandalorian, Grogu, or Starfighter are going to be amazing. I'm just saying that right now I'm looking forward to them. And right now I don't really see any reason as to why you would be not looking forward to this, unless you're just completely off the boat with Star Wars. And unless you're completely just to the point where you're like, I don't care, I won't support or I'll, I won't support anything that Disney does with Star Wars. If you're at that point, then, I mean, I don't know why you're here watching this, but, to each their own. So that's kind of where I'm at. Will we get a trailer? I don't know. I'd be cool to see one tomorrow. I was up super late, and by that I mean super early this morning. I was up until about 8 a.m. this morning, on the morning of the 18th. When I'm recording this, and I checked before I went to bed because I was like, okay, are we getting some? We did not, sadly, but maybe tomorrow, we'll see. But anyways, so that's all I've got. Looking forward to it. We'll see what happens. And the second we get a trailer, I will be sweating away, working away to get my thoughts up.